All right. Well, we're at 10:01 a.m. Excited to present driving digital and cultural transformation at Kirby Risk Machining. Today, I will be your host and moderator. My name is John Daly. I've been with Machine Metrics for several years. I've been in the manufacturing space and business system space my entire career. So, really excited to tell the story today. And so, what inspired me today to start this webinar, or at least create this webinar together with the Kirby Risk team, is I toured the Kirby Risk plant together with Dave Roberts about a month ago. And as I toured the plant, I was really inspired in what they were able to accomplish and how they modernized their shop. What really stuck out to me is that Dave and the team, what they did is they managed this digital and cultural transformation with their employees and not really to those employees. Really excited to have these panelists today, and I'll do a quick introduction of them in a moment. Before we get going, I want to give an orientation for the folks that are new to Machine Metrics, don't know what we do. So Machine Metrics, we're really trusted by many industry leaders, customers, and partners worldwide. We're on every continent, and we've connected thousands of machines. We're based in Massachusetts. We're really well funded, and we win these great awards that we're proud of. Really focused in on the automotive, industrial, aerospace, defense, and medical supply chain space. And we focus on discrete manufacturing. We have a lot of domain expertise in that connecting of machines. What we do is as a platform is we track from work order management side of things, we track labor and parts through each step in the process. We also do scheduling. We have an AI scheduler that we optimize the scheduling and alert you when you're at risk of falling behind. And then we also have what you're going to see a lot today is OEE and production analytics and downtime tracking. Those are our core for MES, manufacturing execution system capabilities within our platform. What we also, to give you kind of a sense for how this all comes together, and Dave's going to be speaking to this, is we blend machine data together with business system data, such as ERP data, together to drive those core four. So we're enabling these real-time outcomes from equipment capacity and downtime alerts down to the second that it happens because we're connected to equipment. And so we're merging these two, let's say, worlds together to drive action. So for today, we have this unique panel of three guests from Kirby Risk. And Kirby Risk, excuse me, we have is representing really all different facets of the organization. So we have Dave, who's in the CI improvement manager role, Jake, who's our plant manager, and Shay, who's actually our not just machine operator, machine wizard. And you're going to learn more about why here in a moment. So Jake, Dave, and Shay, why don't you just say a couple of words and we'll get going.
Hi, my name is Dave Roberts. I'm Continuous Improvement Manager here at Kirby Risk, and I've been here about 27 years.
Yeah, my name is Jake Gray, the plant manager. I've been here for come up to 20 years in a variety of different roles, and I've been in this role for about 5 years.
Hi, I'm Shay Birchfield, and I've been at Kirby Risk for 2 years.
Great, thanks Kirby Risk team. Let's get into it. So Dave, tell us about Kirby Risk Precision Machining.
Yeah, we're a global tier one supplier to major OEMs such as Caterpillar, John Deere, and Parker Hannifin. We make precision machine components that go on to a lot of diesel attachment iron to diesel engines and power generation. Our shop consists of lathes, mills, and assembly.
Great, thanks, Dave. All right. Well, I want to kind of dive in here a little bit and talk about kind of the journey and starting from the beginning. And so, uh, pre-machine metrics, let's go back beforehand and some of the business challenges that you faced. And Dave, I want to start with you. And back in 2022, there's a note here on the screen that says control towers right here. What's that all about? What's control towers? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, we were literally on the burning platform. We had 25,000 pieces past due, and when that happens, your customers get really excited with you, and not in a good way. So we would have daily calls with each of our major customers, and they wanted to know exactly what parts were running on what machines and how many was ready and how many was going to ship at least once a day for an hour. If not, in the very beginning, it was 2 1-hour sessions. So, you know, you're basically taking 25% of your day just to report status. So it wasn't very fun.
Yeah, and I can't imagine it would be fun having that oversight every single day, kind of down to the minutia of things. And then Jake, we look at from kind of the business side of things, and from the business, those past dues are materially impacting the business. You had labor shortage, you had customer satisfaction. Could you just kind of dive into that, kind of maybe elaborate a little bit further?
Yeah, so, 25,000 pieces past due is not what we're typically used to. And the main issue was the post-COVID recovery. I mean, the V-shaped demand, we were living through that. We were what I call peak demand with all of our customers, and it quickly made us over capacity. Uh, as many of you probably have experienced the labor shortages that were out there in Lafayette, Indiana, where we are, there's multiple manufacturing facilities, a lot of options for employees. So we had a labor shortage issue, and we also have space constraints too, and within our facility. So, to add capacity in a traditional way by, expanding value add floor space and putting in more machines, that we just didn't have the time to do that. So how do we figure out, the quickest, most cost effective way to get caught up?
Yeah, and those labor problems are seem to be still persistent out there in the manufacturing marketplace, and obviously just not only unique to Kirby Risk. And so, the last aspect of these challenges is really on the shop floor, and we're going to go to the next slide right here, and this is where we're going to kind of dive into this a little bit more. So, Dave, let's start with you. Tell us about this diagram a little bit and this time study that you've done.
Sure. This is a spaghetti diagram of our shop. So what I measured was I measured the distance from each machine to the supervisor's desk, and how many times per day they were walking to go find their supervisor or support or quality inspector. And it ended up they were walking 62 miles a year. Each operator was. So with 15 work centers, that's over 1,100 miles. And if you equate that to hours, that's about 370 hours of lost time a year just walking around the shop. Is the material time to resolution, that's 51 minutes. Something else we found was that the operators were waiting 51 minutes to get material once they requested it. So we never had that material handler in place before, but machine metrics during that very first week of the pilot, it showed us we need a material handler.
Yeah, and Shay, let's have you jump in here. It's great that you probably didn't have to get a gym membership because you were walking 62 miles every year, but tell us about kind of like why that was kind of painful for you as an operator.
Well, for me as an operator, I come in and I want to get busy with my workday. I want to just get up, start my machine and get running. And that really put a damper in it, when I'm sitting around waiting for material. I'm not a very patient person. So, you know, waiting on material really kind of just put a damper in the day. So, you know, and also having to go hunt, you know, our supervisor down, or at that point we had to go hunt our team lead down. And, you know, there's 15 machines, so he had to prioritize which machine he was going to get to first before he could even start his workday, which made it really frustrating if mine was just only material based and not an actual catastrophe.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of noise going on. And so, I mean, kind of, you know, talking about, you know, solutions now, you know, Jake, I see this first one on this list right here is temporary workers, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Why can't you just throw more bodies at the problem?
Well, machining is difficult. You know, it's a skill that requires a lot of training. And so you bring a temporary worker in, it's going to take them, depending on their past skill set, a month, 2, 3 months to really be self-sufficient. So it's that was in itself causing utilization problems and scrap problems, and you know, so yeah, in our line of work, machining just extremely challenging. Just bring brand new people in here and expect them to execute at a high level.
Yeah, that's I definitely can appreciate that. And then Dave, you started pursuing other options, obviously not just throwing labor at it, but you wanted to track machines, and you did. What did you try, and why didn't it work?
Well, we back in I think it was '06 and '07, we were a all Mazak house, and at the time they offered their machine monitoring software, and we got it all hooked up and reporting, and it said that our shop was 97% utilization, and I just knew that was way far off. So I had to do a lot of manual manipulation to that raw data to actually get it to fairly accurate. And I think at that time, our utilization was only about 33%. So it was overstating the utilization by 300%. So it's I can't stress enough to have accurate utilization data. And machine metrics, I think with them so far, we're plus or minus 2%. So we've got good information.
That's great. And you know, Dave, that solution obviously didn't kind of work out for you, and you over the years you looked at doing a paper or manual approach. Um, can you tell me a little bit about that and how that worked or didn't?
Yeah, as we got more and different equipment, obviously the Mazak monitoring solution only worked on Mazaks. So then we reverted back to we would literally have to take a stopwatch to clock our cycles, and then we would manually try to put downtime in for each and every shift and machine, and it was just very, very cumbersome. And at the end of the day, I think we were only within probably about plus or minus 9% accuracy by doing that. So it wasn't very accurate, and it was very cumbersome.
Yeah, let's talk about moving forward. So fast forward. Now you've piloted machine metrics, and this is what I think is really interesting and unique that I saw at your shop is you know, out of the gate, you really didn't focus on, let's say, kind of retroactively going back and saying, well, what was our downtime? You really attacked it from a different perspective, and you focused on more like downtime prevention, or in your words, Dave, you said kind of the front end of it. Uh, Tell us more about this evolution and that part of it, and then where you identified where those needs were to, you know, prevent the downtime.
Sure. I really wanted to focus on communication and machine utilization, not necessarily operator utilization. We took the approach of if the machine isn't getting the numbers where we need them, then how can we better support our operators to help achieve those goals? And I think it was a lot better received than just hooking things up and putting a goal out there and then asking operators why they're not hitting their goals. So we really tried to partner with them. And to Shay's point, she gets frustrated whenever she has to wait for things. Generally, people just want to come in and do a good job, and they don't want to be frustrated while they're doing that job. So the easier we can make that communication for the operators in real-time communication has proved very valuable to us.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And where you focused kind of the business at is in these kind of core aspects of your particular shop there, from tooling and inspection beyond just the material side of things, request. And I think that, is a good segue into the next slide right here. And Shay, what I guess I'll give a little background here is for the audience is what you're seeing right here on the screen is an animation. It's basically kind of like a video of the process, of initiating a help, like a call system or a help system. And so Shay, maybe walk us through kind of some examples or walk us through this process here and how it works in your shop and how it improved your day-to-day work and getting that, getting your machine up and running and hitting those targets.
So with the platform, I was able to send workflows that allowed me to prepare for things. So if I was running my material down and I only had a few parts left, I was able to send the workflow that notified, the supervisor or the support person that, I'm going to be low on material. It really allowed for my downtime to be less because I was able to send it before I was out of the material. If my machine was down, I was able to send the alert, that my machine wasn't working, and the response time was really quick with that. It really helped with, communicating across the shop to where I didn't have to go running around looking for someone to let them know I'm out of material or, my machine's down because a tool broke.
Yeah, that's great. And so you weren't walking those, let's say 62 miles each year or, that metric that we just shared before. And so after, basically, Dave, you implemented this with Shay and many others. It really worked, but you did learn something. Could you explain this chart a little bit more in detail for our audience?
Sure. They say you can't over communicate. Well, I think we broke that theory. As you see, as it became more and more culture, we created, about 500, 600, 700 workflows a month. And even that was starting to overload our supervisors and support personnel a little bit. And so then we said, hey, I think we need to do something a little different. And so we came up with a visual management or Kanban system so that it takes the main categories, and we have big 85-inch screen TVs throughout the shop. So now you can walk through our shop and you still might get a text or an email, but you can actually see up on the big screen TV exactly what machines need what. And whether it's, it has a timestamp on it, so it shows when they requested it. And then whenever somebody actively starts working on it, then it's active. And then it shows when it's completed as well.
Well, yeah, Dave, let's jump to that next. I mean, the bottom line or punchline on this was is that one, you got really good engagement proven by these numbers. Because you sat closely with the operators such as Shay and others, and the requests came in, and you can see this from left to right, a nice steady trend going up. So you got the hook in, and the operators were engaged. But to your point, there's a little bit of more communication overload there. And this is what, you develop together with machine metrics is that visual management system. So again, maybe explain, Dave, this request system, the top and bottom parts of this, and what is the audience seeing here?
Yeah, the bottom portion where you see all the machines and the little medallions is that is the current utilization rate for each one of those machines, and the little bars below show hour by hour. And then the top portion is our Kanban board, and it rotates through the main support categories, production support, material, tool crib, maintenance, inspection. So it shows where the whole shop is at on that visual Kanban board. So when a request comes in, it goes to the left-hand column. And then whenever it's active, it goes to one of the middle columns. And then whenever it's completed, it goes to the far right-hand column.
Yeah, this is a really impressive, and I saw it in person, and this is exactly kind of the rotation about every, what is it, 7 or 8 seconds. It rotates, and it's on those big 85-inch TVs in the public view or in the view of everybody on the shop. Did this drive kind of like more accountability, Dave and Shay? Maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, one neat thing, and I think Shay can back me up on this. Two of our production support guys, they were competing against each other to see who could go to, say somebody needed support, they would brace each other to see who could get there first. So it was just kind of neat to see in that respect.
Yeah.
We definitely have a little bragging rights around the shop, like, can I beat your utilization to the next person next to me? So.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of like a nice competition, within the shop. That's great, and makes it a little bit more. It makes it enjoyable when you can see your scoreboard basically and where you're at. And Shay, knowing that you're so competitive, I'm sure you're kind of in the lead all the time.
Some days I am, yes. And I do like to, go to the next person and be like, hey, I see your numbers. Look at mine.
Yeah, yep, you have some bragging rights for sure. Um, so let's continue on and kind of pivot off of that. Why this was beneficial is what we heard from you, Dave, is that um, you know, you were able to get these systems humming, get these dashboards going. What are we looking at on this graph right here? Maybe you could explain the data that was collected and the results from, these requests.
Sure. This is a scatter plot diagram. This is a diagram of all of the workflow requests for material. And think of it at this way. Time is on the left-hand side and number of requests are on the bottom. Whenever you have a very flat line, that means that you have a lot of requests all at the same time. So in that regard, by looking at the timestamps of all the workflows, it kind of stood out to us, hey, we need a material handler right at the beginning of the shift. You would think that was obvious, but this is just a nice visual way of representing that. So whenever we started out, we hired the part-time material handler, and it moved the needle. So then Jake asked me, hey, when do we need any more, another part-time one? I said, no, we need another full-time one. And we did that, and we were able to drop our response time from 51 minutes to 16.
Wow, that's great improvement. And then Jake, I'm sure, I mean, maybe explain how this was an easy justification for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a quick win. Our number one goal is to increase the utilization. And if we can hire a 4-hour person material handler for our key time of the day to increase that utilization, let's do it. Obviously adding labor, sometimes you got to do a risk reward type thing, but this was a low risk, high reward situation. So it was literally a 2-minute conversation. Dave, let's go, let's get it. So
Yeah, and then Dave, you also mentioned that, you know, inspections is kind of, you know, a bottleneck for you, and we hear that very often amongst our manufacturers as well. Um, sounds like you're going to, you know, continue to improve that as a part of your continuous improvement journey. Could you explain a little bit?
Yeah, there's basically two different types of inspections. There's manual inspections, and then there's CMM inspections. The CMM inspections take quite a long time. They're typically more complex parts, so we put them on this measuring machine, and it'll make all the measurements and stuff. And then if there's an adjustment, then you have to go and make all of the adjustments. You have to run another part down. Now you have to have another CMM check. And our average CMM check time from the time they first bring a part in till it's signed off is between 2 and 2.5 hours. So yeah, it definitely pointed that out pretty easily just by, again, measuring the timestamps from the workflows.
Yeah, that's definitely a big area of opportunity. It sounds like for you, and you know, as you started implementing this solution more so, the results have been positive. And Dave, maybe you could kind of just speak to what we're seeing on the screen right here.
Yeah, our baseline was about 25.6% whenever we started the implementation. And then as of about 2 weeks ago, our utilization was about 55% shop-wide. So that is a total increase of 120% from where we started. It definitely makes life a lot easier whenever you pick up your utilization.
Yeah, very impressive, Dave and Shay and Jake. And then, you know, this one right here is another chart right here. Why is this one important here, Dave? What does this tell you when you start running these reports?
Yeah, we took the 5 top categories, and so it just tells us where to start with. So we started with the part-time material handler, but it obviously showed once we had a couple of weeks of decent data flowing in, and this just validated what we had done with the material handler, and then it just paraded on down. So one exciting thing to be able to focus your limited resources, because if we worked on everything would get about half done. So we like to pick an issue, a roadblock for the operators, and try to focus our resources on trying to eliminating that roadblock for them. And yeah, one nice thing, a note down there, from our base to where we were just a few weeks ago, we were 600 hours of output per week, and now we're about 800. So to put that in terms, that's like creating about 4.3 extra machines staffed on all 3 shifts for an entire month.
Wow, that's an awesome statistic, and obviously less equipment to procure and defer from Jake's perspective, and using what you have today, and you know, squeezing out more capacity, which is a great story to tell. Nice work on this. And then let's go to the next slide right here. You know, this really shows a really interesting story, looping back to kind of the original, control towers and past dues. Dave, the past dues went down significantly. Go ahead and share a little bit on that journey here.
Yeah, as I'd mentioned before, we were on control towers with our customers, and there were several times where we had to make a glide path for recovery plan. And we would put a plan together based on what we thought our utilization was. And it was kind of frustrating because we were consistently missing our mark. So after we got machine metrics hooked up and got it reporting and we got accurate utilization information, we made a glide path to recovery plan and we hit it within like a week of where we predicted it would be.
Yeah, that's a great story. And, I don't mean to go back, but I was also thinking about if we go back to this, there's more to this, basically, Dave, than what we shared. Is what you shared with me is that you're using the data, such as this data right here, to track actually mean time to resolution for each individual department. And you're able to do that because of this request system, writing basically when the request happened and when it was fulfilled, and measuring that mean time to resolution for each individual department. You're using that data, from my understanding, right, to drive conversations with those, let's say, those team leaders in those respective areas. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then when it's kind of nice with the visual Kanban boards, nobody, each department has their own responsibility and they don't want to see request in the request column. They try to see it in the completed column.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great metric to strive for is get in the completed column and get it finished. So let's pivot over to you, Jake. On one side of the business, you're looking at, just more machine utilization. You've realized that past dues are down, but there's kind of an effect that happens, and you witness your inventory turns increase significantly, and as a result of that, you had a 40% reduction on your balance sheet. For you guys, is that cash in the bank that then you can deploy elsewhere, and how did that benefit the business?
Well, the problem was we were ordering material at the rate of the customer demand, and we weren't able to turn that stuff around as fast. So our raw material dollars really ballooned up. So kind of one of the other scopes of this project was to decrease raw inventory. And I would have been happy with something under 2 million. And they ended up, by the end of 2024, they ended up getting close to 1.5 million by the end of 2024. So just outstanding, chewing through that raw material at a crazy rate. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other business gains than just strictly utilization, and that was extremely evident with the raw material.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Jake, what I have on the side here is just basically a chart that depicts, even if you had, let's say, amazing results that you had where you were able to chew through that inventory and get a 40% reduction from 3 million basically down, and realizing a $1.2 million benefit. If you even cut that in half, that was 600,000, or if you cut that in a quarter, that was 300,000 at 10%. And for our audience who may have, let's say, larger positions on inventory, you can see how this can really quantify quickly. And Dave and Jake, I think we'll speak to this a little bit more, but the return on investment was significant for you.
Absolutely. you know, when you're in a hole like we were with our customers, you're so focused on that customer side of it and just making sure they're getting their parts. But then, you know, being able to see other benefits is huge, because now we can have more of a successful return on investment because of data like this. So it really helps me sell to my executive leaders how successful this project is and what else we can continue to do to kind of continue to improve through this evolution as we keep going. So it's just amazing how many different areas of the company it's positively affected.
Yeah, that's a great story on that. In this basically kind of rounding out the financial results, Dave, I know you're very proud of this, some of these bullet points here. Could you just kind of dive into these and describe more so that that ROI and payback and kind of what it resulted for in Kirby Risk?
Yeah, our initial investment was paid for basically in the first 30 days after everything was up and going. As Jake mentioned, we had quite a significant inventory reduction. Past dues reduced 97%. Something else was really exciting for me is normally December is our lowest revenue month. And December 2023 was our highest revenue December in 26 years. And then in April of 24, it was the highest revenue month that we've ever had since we started KRPM. And it's just kind of exciting seeing the numbers from many different aspects, from, you know, chewing through material, increase in utilization, decrease in response times, and then also have it tied to the financials where you can literally see it every month. It just makes it very exciting and satisfying.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dave. And you know, I guess our audience, they're really interested in kind of this playbook, right? And how you and Jake and Shay really you know, delivered these results. And where would you say, you know, how would you start this cultural transformation if there are other folks on the call, and what would you suggest?
Number one is get your upper management buy-in. I was blessed with Jake Gray and Jim Smith, and they supported this project right out of the gate. That's very important. IT support was also very important. Me and the engineering manager did a lot of it ourselves. It's not hard work, but it can be a little time-consuming on the front end. And then we took the approach of, you know, the servant leadership restaurant style is what I like to call it. You know, if you go to a restaurant and you order your drinks and it takes 45 minutes to get your drinks, probably going to get up and walk out. So we really wanted to focus on the operator's needs and how can we serve them best. Building trust with frontline operators. You know, I worked in small groups with every operator in the shop, and then I met individually with them for at least a shift or two for every operator on every shift. And I took that time to engage with the operators and, number one, just get to know them a little bit, you know, and then find out that some of the little stuff that frustrates them, and if we can, fix it right then and there. And then, you know, celebrate the wins. I call it the Mary Poppins approach of accentuate the positive. And so Shay might be able to jump in here for something whenever she had a 98% utilization shift.
Yeah, I ran at 98%, and I received an email from an executive in our facility congratulating me, and it was really nice that, you know, someone higher up, you know, that I don't normally see every day noticed something good that I was doing.
Yeah, that's awesome, Shay, and congratulations on that accomplishment. And Dave, thanks for kind of sharing with our audience here, some of the key aspects for starting off this, cultural transformation. Really a great job by everybody involved. And, you know, moving forward, kind of like looking at the next steps before we get into Q&A here. Um, Dave, what do you plan on doing next with Machine Metrics? Because I know you've accomplished a lot, but you still have aspirations to go even further, right? So jump into that.
Absolutely. One of the next things we're looking at is integrating our ERP system with Machine Metrics, and that little graphic on the side there shows the live production view of scheduling, and we're very excited about that. And then the project I'm just getting ready to launch tomorrow is process control, because that's more foundational type thing. So whenever we get really good control of all of our processes, that's whenever we can start looking at some other really neat things like standardization and that sort of thing. And then just my personal goal would be to, I know we're at 120% right now. I'd like to get it by 150% by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that would draw a smile from Jake even more so. So, very good. Well, you're not stopping. You still got the foot on the accelerator, Dave. And before we get into Q&A, I do want to recognize Dave's efforts here. Dave does, he's a man of, many, let's say, hats, and he also runs his own consulting service, Savvy Consulting. And Dave is exceptional at this. What I've witnessed is he's a change agent. He affects change, and he does this in a way where he gains the trust of the operators. So, yeah, Dave, congratulations on your success so far. And if anybody wants to reach out to you to consult consult on your services, is it best to reach out through LinkedIn or email? What's your preference?
Probably email would be best for now.
Great. All right. Well, we're going to pivot to the end of the discussion here. Let's open up the Q&A lines, and we have some questions already. And I think the first one here from Jeff is, how is utilization being measured? What is the formula? Dave, I can give kind of a summary of it, but I think, coming from the horse's mouth here yourself would be probably appropriate as well. Do you want to take a stab at it?
Sure. Utilization is measured as when the machine is actively machining a part. So typically, whenever we have a part running, it runs a CNC program. So whenever that program is running, actively running, that is considered being utilized.
Perfect. And to sum it all up, it's being utilized relative to the kind of scheduled time, or let's say the shift time, when the machine's in cycle versus when it's not. So it's pretty straightforward metric. I got another question for the Kirby Risk team. How many operators and shifts and machines do you have?
Right now we have 32 operators. We have 2 shifts, a day shift and a night shift. And we have 15 production machines at the moment.
Thanks, Jake. And then we got the next one here is from Karina. Were you met with any resistance to change? If so, how did you go about getting the buy-in? And so that's probably you guys decide who should answer that one.
Well, again, I took the Mary Poppins approach, and I celebrated the ace operators like Shay here and a few others on the shop floor, and that created synergy. Okay. And so that also encouraged some of the other lower performing operators to maybe step up their game as well. I really didn't have to say anything to them. So again, I really tried to focus on the positive.
Yeah, I'd like to add in there too. There were about 3 or 4 operators that were not they didn't want anything to do with this, and they were giving us other issues too, insubordination, whatnot. And they just decided to go find employment elsewhere. Again, it was only 3 operators, but that really helped. I think it really helped morale because you know, you've got your A employees and then you got your B employees shifting up to A. And then really your C employees are deciding, well, I either need to start performing or I'm gonna, need to go find something else to do. So that alone helped our overall morale.
Yeah, thanks, Jake, for sharing. And we have a couple more questions. Keep the questions coming. We have still some more time. So this is a great opportunity for you to interface with Jake and Dave and Shay. So the next question is, do your operators do their own setups, or do you have setup technicians?
So yes, we do our own setups at our machines. We do have support if we do need help with those setups, such as entering the programs, or if, we are stuck with something that's not fitting properly when we are doing our setup. But yes, we do our setup.
All right, thanks, Shay. Let me go ahead and go through some more of these questions here. And so we have another one, verifying the utilization denominator is scheduled hours by machine. Yes, in general, that is correct. This is the way that the reports are showing Dave. Basically it is looking at the shift as that denomination. So let's go to the next question from one of my favorite customers, Chris. Is your communication board set up something where you can share and add to the Machine Metrics Labs section? So Dave, are you familiar with the Labs section?
Yeah, we're actually using the utilization dashboard from the lab section. We just started trialing that out, I think last Friday. And then I think everything goes well. We might populate that throughout the rest of the shop. In regards to, trying to put the Kanban system in the lab.
Well,
yeah,
I think what Chris's question is like how, he wants to be able to see this. And Dave, we had a little discussion, and you provided some documentation. Long story short, you're using kind of a combination of another technology that's driven from Machine Metrics. But
right.
the utilization of that technology is quite easy to set up. And currently it's not in the lab section. It may land there at some point. But I think what we could do is after the meeting today, I can get with Chris and we can show him on how to implement that with your basically your kind of how-to article.
Right.
Perfect. All right. So we got some more questions. Thank you. The next one is, how much success do you attribute to the Machine Metrics, and how much additional benefit do you think is due to the Trello Kanban board integration? Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Our utilization was on a steady incline just from using Machine Metrics itself. We have gained about another, I would say, probably 10% since we introduced Kanban boards. But the base information and just what you get right out of the box for Machine Metrics, you're going to see quite significant improvements.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. The great thing about that is we have those Kanban boards throughout managers' offices as well. So like if we see a spike in, you know, production support needed, then that allows us to say, hey guys, do you have anyone else available to come support the floor? You know, it just turns on so many lights that allows us to understand what's going on out there. In the past, it could just be frustration. Like Shay may not know that there's 8 other requests out there, but now she does, you know, and now we do too. So let's go tackle those requests, treat these machines and the operator's needs as like the ER, you know, and just try to get them fixed and up and running as fast as possible. So those Kanban boards have really helped with illustrating all that stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. Got a couple other questions. I'm going to answer this one really quick. How do you know that the NC program basically is actually doing real machining work and not playing on air? Well, I can say from testaments from our customers is that because we can monitor the load on the spindle itself, we can determine whether or not that machine is machining air or is machining actual metal or whatever material you're machining. The next question that I have from the group is, are you a unionized shop? And if so, did you have pushback or support?
We are not a unionized facility.
Thank you, Jake. And then utilization or availability is one factor of OE. Any plan to implement the Q and the P, so the quality and the performance? Dave and Jake and Shay, you guys want to answer that one?
Yeah, I think that is in the plans at some point in time, but I think it'll be easier to implement that after we have the ERP integration.
Thank you. And then we got some more coming in. Thank you for the great questions. We still have 7 minutes to go, so keep sending those in. This is the opportunity. Do you incorporate any machine metrics information into operators support people's goal to, you know, basically, you know, during review time, right? You know, are you incorporating those metrics in on a person by person basis?
Yes, we are. And we're also about ready to roll out some an incentive type program to where if you hit certain goals, you're going to get like a raffle ticket. And then at the end of each month, we'll draw names for prizes, which is what I'm excited about. And Shay, this is so new that I don't think anyone knows about it, but hopefully we'll be rolling that out soon. But yeah, our goal is to make it a fun competition. You know, people like to compete, and we're just going to try to illustrate those high performers, not just during review time, but throughout the year as well.
Yeah, I have a suspicion here, Jake, that Shay is going to get a lot of raffle tickets in her future.
Tickets, yeah.
All right, thanks, Jake, for sharing. And then, on average, how much experience do your operators have?
Okay, so we have a group of people, I would say 20% of our operators, 15 to 20 that have 5 years or greater. The majority of our operators have been here for less than 5. And you know, that is a challenge, but it's, you know, the quicker we can get them up to speed and running, the better. Now we can show them their own personalized graph of improvement. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really shows, you know, your success when you're dealing with, let's say, less tenured machine operators and machinists. So kudos to you guys for driving up those numbers with, let's say, a less tenured workforce and developing them as well. So we have another question. Are you already testing the scheduling system? How do you think it will add value since you're already using Kanban boards? So maybe Dave, take that one.
Yeah, the scheduling system that I was referring to is the job orders. So it's really separate from the support categories. So what it does is we haven't used it yet, but that's part of the ERP integration journey there. And what happens is it looks at each machine and it looks at all the jobs that are routed for that machine. And then based on past historical utilization for that machine, and in particular for that particular part, it looks at that for each and every job. And it will tell you where you are at risk if you have these 5 jobs slated for this machine. So what's really neat is that it calculates based on those real-time data. And so say you have a job order of like 300 pieces, and then 2 job orders after that, it says you're going to make, you're not going to make this shipment. So maybe then you cut that job order down from 300 to 200, and it automatically in real time recalculates all of the other jobs slated for that machine, and you'll see that now that job is going to be on time. So it's kind of like a dynamic scheduling, and that's what we're really excited about.
Great. Thanks for answering that, Dave. And then we have another one here. Did you have issues getting the operators to sign in to tablets, categorize downtime during adoption? And if so, how did you overcome it?
I think that's going to be part of the incentive program is for them to qualify for that, then they have to be clocked in, you know, say 90% of the time. And so I think that's the way we'll handle that. Right now, we're probably at about 50 or 60% of the operators clocking in to it. So I think that's another way to help encourage them to clock in and have more of those granular data by operator as well. So, and then what was the second half of that question? I'm sorry, John.
Oh, you kind of answered it with the incentive program. How did you overcome it? Maybe
Okay.
some other techniques from before, like encouraging operators to do the logging in processing and classification.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll just add a little bit, basically to that is when you get, your operators and tablets. Oh, we got another question. We only got a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to pivot over to this last question. Oh, no, it wasn't a question. It was just a big thank you from one of our valued customers. Randy, thanks. And yeah, I think that basically is it. We're at top of the hour here, or very close to it. So yeah, thank you, Kirby Risk team, for sharing your results and your journey. And best of luck to you guys on your next phase of your journey. Thank you.
Thank you, John,
Thank you.
for having us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And again, reach out to Machine Metrics and or Dave and the team. Their contact information is in there if you have additional questions, and we can help. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.